going on, guys? So this is my official review of Captain America, the first Avenger. If you have not seen the movie, don't watch this, because I'm going to ruin it for you. Because I'm going to tell you about it, what I liked and what I disliked. Also, I don't want you going into the movie knowing what I liked and disliked and have that kind of skew your thoughts when you see the scenes that I talk about. So make sure you see the movie before you watch this. If you haven't seen it, turn it off. Now, first of all, the first night that I went to go see the movie, it was a midnight showing. I got there, I bought my ticket, I'm super excited, I was really tired, I'm like, I'm gonna see this movie tonight. I haven't been able to see it all week. Buy my ticket, 5 seconds after that happened, the fire alarm gets pulled and I can't see the movie. So I was like, are you kidding me? So I had to go see it like a couple days later. So I went and saw the movie, and you guys gotta understand that Captain America is one of my favorite superheroes because he embodies the core morals and values that I try to uphold in my own personal life. When I was a kid, I looked up to superheroes like Superman and Captain America because they were good people, they were always there, no matter what happened, they were always true to themselves and what they believed in. So that's what I was going to this movie trying to see. I wanted to see if the movie was going to stick to that and make Steve Rogers the hero that he is. And they totally did. They nailed it on the head, throughout the whole movie, even when he was in the beginning, when he was really weak, and he was scrawny, no matter what, he never backed down. He always stuck up for himself because he said once you start running, they never let you stop. And I like that. And a lot of those scenes were really powerful and emotional. And no matter what happened, even if girls didn't like him, he didn't care. He was always going to be himself. He was never going to change. I think that's important. And I think in today's society, in today's world, it's not that the amount of good people is going down. It's just that there's more people in the world. So you don't see a lot of people who still maintain their core morals and values and do nice things just because they want to do and be a good person. So for me, it was really refreshing to go to a movie and watch it and see this character who embodies the morals and values of someone who is just all around good and wants to do the right thing. It was refreshing to me. It inspired me to want to be a better person, and I like that. And that's what I wanted to get out of this movie. Now, as far as critiquing the movie, and I'm a comic book geek too, you guys might not know that, and kind of going back and forth between comics and what I knew about Captain America going in and what I didn't know, and then going after on the computer and researching stuff. When the movie first started, I might have missed it. Maybe you guys saw it. Obviously I know Captain America was frozen in an iceberg, and they would have to revive him, and they alluded to that in Incredible Hulk and all this other stuff. But usually when a movie first starts, if you don't know what's going on, if you never knew anything about Captain America and you went to this movie and you saw the trucks and they were on this glacier and it was cold, and if you know Captain America, they're probably going to find him frozen. But if you don't know, it would have helped to have like a date, present day 2011, going to find this iceberg, because you don't know when the movie's starting, because the character takes place in the 1950s. So I might have missed it, but I didn't see any of that in the beginning, and it would have been cool to have that just because it helps set up the mood for the beginning of the movie. And then they go there and they find him, and then all of a sudden, it's in the 50s and now the movie starts. I liked all the stuff they did with him, like trying to get into, trying to become a soldier, getting denied, trying again and again and again, changing where he lives. And, his buddy Bucky's there. Obviously, Bucky's a very important part in the Captain America saga, so it was nice to see him do that. But I think they might have spent a little bit too much time showing how weak and feeble he was. I think they should have stuck to the parts where, he was sticking up for himself and getting beat up. Showing him going in there to the recruiter's office and getting turned down, but trying anyways. But I think they just kind of overplayed him being weak, and they could have taken a lot of those scenes out and put more scenes into him, like when he became Captain America. And I'll get to that in a second. But it was really cool to see him go in there, and when he's inside the machine and he's screaming and he's he's obviously in a lot of pain because his body's growing and his bones are growing, everything's growing, and they go to turn it down, and he's like, no, keep it going, I can do this. And it just shows you that he has that spirit and that heart to never give up. And it was a very emotional part, in the beginning sequences of the movie. So I like that. Then he becomes Captain America, and he runs down the street, he catches the guy who kills the doctor. And, I thought everyone thought it was funny when the little kid got thrown in the water, and he was kind of just like, don't worry, I can swim. Go get him, go get the bad guy. So that was really cool. Now, I wrote down some notes, too, of some things specifically I wanted to go over, just because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. But, when I didn't know about the bonds, like selling the bonds for the military to raise money, you know, for the war. Obviously, it's very important. So I did some research on that, and from what I found out from different blogs is that, you know, a lot of the comic books in that time era would allude to some sort of, you know, trying to sell a bond to support the military and raise money, just because, you know, people buying comics, reading it, want to support their country. So it was an easy way to kind of filter that in there. But, you know, it was really cool the way the movie did it, because, you know, he wanted to be, it's like every single person, like every person in their life, they lose maybe focus of what exactly they want to do, because they get bombarded with all this stuff. Like all of a sudden, you know, Steve Rogers goes from this scrawny little dude to like this super jacked, super strong, super fast guy, and everybody wants a piece of him. And he's, you know, he's trying to stay true to himself, and, you know, he can't go right into war, but he finds a way he can get involved by doing these sales bonds things. And I was wondering how they were going to incorporate his original shield, and I like how they made it that was his shield when he was on stage, and he had his little notes in the back, and, you know, obviously as time went on, he didn't need the notes anymore, and that's how he got his costume, and he's selling these U.S. bonds, and then he goes to the military base, and he's on stage, and everybody's kind of, all the troops are just laughing at him, they just want to see the girls, they're calling him a sissy and a pansy, and, you know, that kind of, like, strikes him, and now he's like, oh, you know, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be the superhero. I'm supposed to save people. That's what I originally wanted to sign up for. So now he's like, you know, revved back into action. Then, you know, he goes off and he saves the 400 troops, which was really cool. Like the whole sequence of him going in there and saving everybody was awesome. You know, then he gets his, you know, his costume design, and he gets his shield. But they kind of just sped through that. And you might have felt the same way. You know, I'm thinking, okay, you know, I know the shield's vibranium. There's all these different, you know, things and theories as to how the shield came about. You know, some like cartoons and stuff that I watched, the shield was made of vibranium, which was an alien spaceship, and the only thing that can penetrate vibranium is other vibranium. And then other, you know, comics or online sources say that the metal was like created by accident, and they find it in South Africa and all this other stuff. But, you know, he kind of just goes in, he's like, I want this one, and then all of a sudden he has the shield. All of a sudden, if you never watched Captain America, if you know nothing about Captain America, and you see the shield like bouncing off the walls and then coming back to him like a boomerang, you know, you might be wondering, oh, what does he have, like a magnet in his glove? Like, they never really explained how the shield works and how he learned how to use the shield. And the shield is Captain. This is what it's all about right here. You know, they could have took some of the scenes out of him being so weak and feeble, and then gone over to the shield and explained more about the properties of it, because that's interesting. That is Captain America and his shield. The two go together. It's an icon piece. You know, it's his thing. So I was hoping they'd do more of that, but they didn't. But that's okay. It's still, you know, he still kicked some ass, and the Red Skull was on point the whole movie. Just, you know, that guy, what's his name? I wrote down his name. Hugo Weaving. I mean, Lord of the Rings, Matrix, every movie this guy's in, he's just the ultimate badass, and he did a really good job being the ultimate badass as the Red Skull, and the makeup looked great, so he did a great job. And speaking of that, you know, I'll talk about some of the other characters. Tommy Lee Jones, a lot of people I saw had the same thoughts that I had. He's just a perfect amount of, like, he just knows how to be, like, really to the point and a dick, but not really a jerk about it, you know? And it's so funny, like the part when the girl gives him a kiss, what's her name? Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, when she kisses him towards the end, and he looks at Tommy Lee Jones, he's like, I'm not going to kiss you. You know, then he jumps on the Red Skull's plane and takes off. Like, Tommy Lee Jones did an awesome job. Chris Evans did a great job as playing Captain America. I mean, a lot of us have the same, you know, thought process. Is his true nature and all his characters going to shine through when he's usually, you know, punchy and sarcastic? And he did an amazing job. I have no complaints. Chris Evans, awesome. You did a great job as Captain America. I'm very proud of you. You hit it right in the head, the nail right on the head. Bucky, also, what's the guy's name? Sebastian Stone. I think I wrote down his last name wrong, but this guy, Sebastian, played Bucky. He did a great job. However, you know, we all know Bucky later becomes a super soldier. I mean, becomes a Winter Soldier, and I really don't think that only his arm would be missing, falling out of the train like that, down a mountain into like this ravine, to later be found by the Russians and, you know, brainwashed into being the Winter Soldier. So I read also that a lot of people felt the same way, that the way Bucky kind of went out was a little too extreme, because obviously he does come back to life, and he comes back as to be the future Captain America before Captain America was revived. But, I mean, all in all, Bucky was on point the whole movie. I really liked how supportive he was, and he was pretty much a really laid-back, cool guy in the beginning. And then when Captain America finally saves him, he's like, "What'd they do to you?" He's like, "Oh, I got bigger," you know, and they kind of get out of there. But Bucky did a great job. Howard Stark was played by Dominic Cooper. I think Dominic obviously did a great job playing the character. You know, he fell into his role. He did exactly what the movie wanted him to do. However, I think that the directors shouldn't have made him so, like, he was just so goofy, you know? And I know Tony Stark, obviously in Iron Man, is kind of the same way, but I feel like they made Howard's character a little more overboard. Because when you watch, when you watch Iron Man and you see, obviously he's older, but you see him in the movies when he's talking to Tony and he's, you know, giving his speech in front of the table of, you know, the city or whatever, the Stark, the Enterprise, I can't think of the word. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, he's giving his speeches there. He's more put together. He's laid back, but he's not like super goofy like that. But anyways, that's just a little pet peeve about that. Let's see. Some other things I wanted to go over. I did the war bonds thing. I mean, let's get right into what I disliked and what I liked about it. I really like the part when the guy, the head of the troops, is yelling at everybody. He's yelling at Steve Rogers, and he's like, you know, whoever gets the flag first, gets to take the car ride, and everyone's trying to jump up to get to it, and they can't get it. He just kind of walks over, pulls the pin, grabs the flag, and then jumps in the Jeep. But that was a really cool, funny part. Too much weak, honest, true, Bucky dies, kid in the water. These are things I already said. I had a list of things I wanted to go over in an order, but obviously I went off topic. But another thing that I thought was kind of weird was the vaporizing guns. I mean, I don't know too much about them, if they had a lot of them in the series, but I mean, they were just kind of ridiculous. You get shot and you blow up and you die. It kind of reminded me of Transformers 3 when they were kind of shooting people and they were exploding and dying too. But how much would that suck? You know, you're in war, it's like the 1950s or whatever, and you're running around, and at least if you get shot with a bullet, you might have a chance of living. You get shot with one of those guns, you're just like, poof, and you're dead. So that would have stunk, but, I mean, it was cool. It was a cool addition to the movie, but, yeah, just getting vaporized kind of sucks. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's my movie review. I mean, I don't really have a lot to go over. I'm not a movie critic. I'm kind of just going off the cusp here of what I thought. But, you know, I know one thing I wanted to go over. At the end of the movie, you know, he just kind of wakes up in this bed, and the radio's on, he's in, like, this pretend room. I saw a cartoon, it was, like, the first Avengers cartoon, and I really liked how in the cartoon they thought him out, and he's on the table, and they're kind of looking over him, and they're like, wow, you know, he looks like he could just jump off the table, and he jumps off the table and starts running around, kind of does the same thing. He jumps out of the window and starts running down the street, and now all of a sudden he's in the future, and all these cars are everywhere, and everything looks weird. I wish they would have done it more like that, where he was kind of on the table, and he jumps up, and he's like, whoa, what's going on? And everyone kind of thinks he's dead. It's like, it made it seem like everyone knew that because he was frozen, he would just automatically get brought back to life. But whatever, I mean, their take on it was still pretty good, and, you know, obviously, and even at the end, when he wakes up, he holds true to his character, where, you know, he's a decent, down-to-earth guy, and he's not upset about, you know, being in the future or anything like that. He's upset because he had a date with a girl that he obviously fell in love with, so really cool. Now, you guys also saw the trailer at the end, obviously, for the Avengers. The Avengers looks awesome. I mean, they have every single character in there. They're going to make it pretty legit. But I don't know about you guys. I feel like the few times they showed Thor, he looked a lot smaller than he did in the actual movie. And that's just my quick glance. My friend Tim said the same thing. He's like, yeah, I think he looks smaller. But one thing I'm definitely not looking forward to is the new Spider-Man. I mean, first of all, you guys saw the preview at the beginning of the movie for Spider-Man. The series was obviously just recently relaunched. I mean, granted, it's been a couple of years since the Spider-Man movie came out, but there's Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, you know, Tobey Maguire playing the character. And now they have this new kid, and it's like, I really don't feel like watching the origin of Spider-Man again. Like, it was cool when it first came out. The series went on. And I don't know, how do you guys feel about the seeing through his eyes going around the city? I think after a while that might get a little annoying. I mean, for me, watching Spider-Man, it's cooler to see, like, all the acrobats he's doing and his body, like, flailing through the air, and, you know, all of a sudden he leans back and he contorts himself and goes through a tiny hole, comes out, and he, you know, slingshots to a building and goes across. I think that's cooler, but you guys gotta let me know. So, that's my movie critic review of Captain America, the Avengers, and obviously Spider-Man 2. But I want to know your thoughts. I want to know if you disagree with me, agree with me on some of the things I talked about. Leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, more good stuff coming soon. I'll see you guys later.